In the quiet corners of every school, park, and home, there's an invisible child. Not the one causing trouble, not the one leading the games, but the one sitting alone, overlooked. This is not a story of neglect, but of an unrecognized power. The power of the ignored child. Picture a boy named Eli, sitting alone at lunch, not because he's lonely, but because he's observing. He's not missing out on the noise of the cafeteria, he's gaining something far more valuable. The freedom to choose his own path, untainted by the expectations of others. Psychologists call this autonomy, a crucial part of self-determination theory. But what happens when this freedom is born from being ignored? Why does being forgotten feel like the ultimate escape? And what happens when the ignored child grows up, carrying this invisible armor with them? This is the story of the architect of the void, building a world where being unseen is the ultimate superpower. A ghostly figure drifts through the bustling market, unnoticed, untouched. The air is thick with the scent of spices and the hum of voices, but they pass through it all like a whisper in a storm. No one bumps into you, and you bump into no one. The vendors call out their prices, their wares spread out in vibrant displays, but their eyes slide right over you. Children dart between the stalls, laughing, their games a blur of motion, yet they never come close. It's as if you're a shadow, a figment of the market's imagination, present yet not. This is the profound, lonely beauty of being unseen. The freedom in it is intoxicating. There's no need to navigate the complex social dances, no obligation to respond to greetings or engage in small talk. You're a spectator, a silent observer to the human symphony playing out around you. It's a kind of solitude that's not imposed but chosen, a quiet rebellion against the noise of the world. This aligns with the psychological concept of selective ignorance, a coping mechanism where individuals choose to disengage from overwhelming stimuli to protect their mental peace. It's not about being antisocial, it's about being pro-self. Yet, there's a bittersweet melancholy to this freedom. It's a reminder of the existential theory of Mitsein, being with, by Heidegger, which emphasizes the inherent interconnectedness of human existence. While the ghost enjoys the freedom of anonymity, there's a subtle longing for connection, a whisper of loneliness that lingers at the edge of consciousness. But perhaps, in this invisibility, there's also a kind of power. The freedom to move unseen, to observe unnoticed, is a gift in its own right. It's a chance to study the human condition without interference, to learn and grow without the constraints of societal expectations. In the dense forest of societal expectations, there are those who flit about like caged birds, their every move observed, their every action judged. These individuals, trapped by their reputations and the incessant gaze of others, are the epitome of what German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche might have termed the herd. They are bound by the invisible chains of social norms, their behaviors dictated by the fear of standing out, of being noticed for the wrong reasons. This phenomenon is akin to the psychological concept of impression management, where individuals carefully curate their public persona to align with societal expectations, often leading to a loss of authenticity. The caged birds are always aware of the audience. Their lives are a series of carefully choreographed performances, each designed to elicit a specific reaction from their viewers. They are the life of the party, the model employee, the perfect parent, always on, always performing. This constant need for validation can be exhausting, leading to a sense of burnout and a loss of personal identity. It's not just tiredness. It's a feeling of their battery slowly leaking, percent by percent, with every forced smile. They are like actors trapped in a never-ending play, their scripts written by the unseen hands of societal expectations. This is the essence of what sociologist Erving Goffman called the presentation of self, where individuals present an idealized version of themselves to the world, often at the cost of their true selves. In stark contrast, the ignored child, the viewer who exists in the blank spaces of society, is free from these constraints. They are the unnoticed, the overlooked, the invisible. And in this invisibility, they find an unexpected freedom. They are not bound by the expectations of others, for others do not see them enough to form expectations. This is not a life of loneliness, but a life of quiet liberation. They move through the world unnoticed, like a ghost in the machine, free to observe, free to think, free to be. This aligns with the concept of quiet ego, a state of reduced self-consciousness that allows individuals to act authentically without the fear of judgment. The ignored child is not trapped in the cage of societal expectations. They are free to soar in the vast, open sky of their own mind. This freedom, however, comes with its own set of challenges. In a world that values visibility and validation, the ignored child must find their own sense of worth, their own purpose. They must learn to validate themselves, to find meaning in their own eyes, not in the eyes of others. This is the ultimate test of self-determination, of inner strength. And in this test, the ignored child often finds a strength they never knew they had. This strength, this resilience, is the hidden power of the ignored child. In the grand theater of life, the ignored child often finds themselves seated in the balcony, overlooked by the actors on stage. But what if this perceived invisibility is not a curse, but a superpower? What if being forgotten is the ultimate freedom, granting a perspective that is untouched by the biases and stains of direct involvement? This is the power of the universal observer, a concept reminiscent of the observer effect in quantum physics, where the act of observation changes the phenomenon being observed. The ignored child, free from the expectation of being seen, becomes an impartial witness to the world's unfolding drama. Picture a child sitting quietly in the corner of a bustling room, watching as their siblings receive attention, praise, and admonition. They are not neglected, not in the traditional sense. They are simply there. Invisible. This child learns early on that their safety, their power, lies in their obscurity. They become adept at reading the room, understanding the dynamics at play, all while remaining unnoticed. This is not just an observation skill, it's a survival strategy, a form of emotional energy conservation. It's akin to the psychological concept of sensory processing sensitivity, where highly sensitive individuals process information deeply and thoroughly, often leading to heightened empathy and awareness. In the adult world, this child grows into an individual who can navigate complex social landscapes with ease, not because they are part of the game, but because they understand it from a bird's-eye view. They are the ones who notice the subtle shifts in mood, the unspoken rules, the underlying tensions. This is the God mode perspective, a term borrowed from video games where players can see and manipulate the world from an omniscient viewpoint. It's not that they are above the fray, they are simply outside of it. This perspective allows them to see the world in its raw, unfiltered form, without the lens of personal investment distorting their view. Yet, this power comes with its own set of challenges. The ignored child, now the universal observer, often struggles with feelings of detachment. They may feel like they are watching life from behind a glass wall, always on the outside looking in. This is where the philosophical concept of epistemic injustice comes into play, where a person or group is wronged in their capacity as a knower. Their insights, their knowledge, is often dismissed or ignored because they are not part of the in-group. But it's this very detachment that grants them their unique perspective, a perspective that, if harnessed correctly, can be a powerful tool for understanding and navigating the world. And this understanding, this awareness, is the first step towards true freedom. The mind is a vast, labyrinthine library, each thought a book, each memory a shelf. It sprawls in all directions, a city of ideas, emotions, and experiences that defy the physical constraints of the external world. This internal landscape is a reality far more vibrant and malleable than the one outside. The ignored child, often left to their own devices, becomes an architect of this inner world, building castles of imagination where external stimuli are scarce. In this internal library, every aisle is a different realm. The fantasy section is a sprawling metropolis, filled with towering skyscrapers of what-if scenarios and bustling streets of imaginary friends. The history section is a quiet, dusty corner, filled with the tomes of past experiences, each book a different moment in time. The ignored child, with their keen observational skills, often possessed due to their need to understand the environment without drawing attention to themselves, fills these shelves meticulously. This is a form of strength. The child learns to observe and internalize, creating a rich inner life that is a safe haven from the often harsh external world. The concept of flow, as proposed by psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, is particularly relevant here. Flow is a state of complete absorption in an activity, where time seems to stand still. For the ignored child, this internal library is a source of constant flow. It's a place where they can lose themselves for hours, creating, exploring, and learning. The external world, with its noise and chaos, pales in comparison to the vivid, controlled, and safe reality of their mind. This is not a weakness but a strength, a testament to their resilience and creativity. It's a place where they can exercise their autonomy, another key aspect of self-determination theory, without external interference. The ignored child's internal library is not a sign of withdrawal or social ineptitude. It's a testament to their strength, their creativity, and their resilience. It's a place where they can be free, where they can explore the depths of their mind without the constraints of the external world. This internal landscape is a reality far more vibrant and malleable than the one outside. It's a place where they can exercise their autonomy and experience flow, making it a source of ultimate freedom. In the grand theater of life, where most are vying for the spotlight, you stood unnoticed in the shadows. This invisibility, often cast as a curse, was in fact your sanctuary. It allowed you to move through the world unburdened by the expectations and judgments that weigh heavily on those in the limelight. This phenomenon is akin to the psychological concept of quiet ego, a state where one is less concerned with self-promotion and more focused on personal growth and well-being. You were not fighting for attention, not jostling for position, not performing for applause. You were free. This freedom, this solitude, was your armor against the ego traps of the human comedy, the relentless pursuit of validation that so many succumb to. Invisibility also granted you a unique perspective. While others were busy seeking approval, you were observing, learning, growing. This aligns with the concept of sensory processing sensitivity, a trait often found in highly perceptive individuals. You noticed the subtle shifts in moods, the unspoken undercurrents of conversations. You saw the cracks in the facades of those who seemed to have it all. This heightened awareness was not a weakness, but a strength. It allowed you to navigate the world with a keen sense of understanding, a silent witness to the human condition. Moreover, your invisibility was a form of resistance. In a world that constantly demands attention, that insists on being seen and heard, you chose a different path. You were a silent rebel, a quiet defiance against the noise. This resistance is reminiscent of the philosophical concept of quietism, a belief in the power of passive resistance. You were not fighting the system, not railing against the machine. You were simply choosing not to engage. And in that choice, you found a profound sense of peace. So, embrace your invisibility. It was never a punishment, but a gift. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, kept you pure, untainted by the ego traps of the human comedy. You were not forgotten. You were preserved. Like a delicate flower, you were shielded from the harsh winds of validation and judgment. You were allowed to bloom in your own time, in your own way. And in the end, you bloomed more beautifully than those who had always been in the sun. You were not ignored. You were cherished, in the quietest, most profound way. The ignored child often becomes an architect of their own void, a space of profound freedom and self-discovery. This freedom, as existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre might argue, is the ultimate act of defiance in a world that often seeks to define us. The ignored child learns to define themselves, to carve out their own identity in the silence, away from the noise of expectations. This is not a life of isolation, but a life of deep introspection and self-determination. Remember, if you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever been the ignored child, you are not alone. Your solitude was not a sentence, but a sanctuary. A place where you could truly become you. If you found this exploration of the psychology of the ignored child thought-provoking, join us next time as we delve into the power of solitude and the science behind why some of the most creative minds in history were also the loners. Until then, embrace your void, for it is yours alone to fill.